Take a deep breath in and let it go slowly, allowing your shoulders to drop away from your ears and your hands to rest gently in your lap or by your side. We are here to explore a subject that is as old as the concept of home itself, a topic woven into the very fabric of human relationships. The quiet, enduring mystery of why people stay. Specifically, we turn our gaze toward the perspective of the husband, the partner who, despite the storms that may weather the exterior of a marriage, despite the temptations of new horizons, or the weariness that accumulates over decades, remains anchored to the shore he knows. Let yourself settle into this space of contemplation. Imagine a house at night. The lights are dimmed. The world outside is asleep. And inside, there is only the rhythmic sound of a clock ticking on the wall, and the soft, steady breathing of two people who have weathered 1,000 days and nights together. There is a weight to this silence, but it is not a heavy weight. It is the weight of a warm blanket, the gravity of history. It is in this stillness that we find our answer, not in the loud declarations of passion, but in the invisible, unbreakable threads of the ordinary. To understand why a man stays, why he chooses, day after day, to remain within the structure of a marriage, we must first look at the profound power of the known. The human mind craves certainty. It seeks patterns and predictability like a thirsty root seeks water. Over years of shared life, a wife becomes more than just a partner. She becomes the environment itself. She is the landscape of his life. Think of the way an old armchair molds itself to the shape of the person who sits in it. At first, the chair is stiff, unfamiliar, distinct from the body. But over time, the fabric softens, the cushion gives way, until the chair and the person fit together so perfectly that one hardly notices where the body ends and the furniture begins. This is the nature of long-term attachment. A man does not simply live with his wife, he lives within the relationship they have built, a structure made not of bricks and mortar, but of inside jokes, shared glances, negotiated routines, and the silent, understood agreements of how to move through the day. To leave, to step out of this molded, familiar shape, requires a tearing of the self. It is not merely a change of address or a signing of papers. It is a disruption of the very atmosphere he breathes. The scent of the house, the way the light falls across the kitchen table in the morning, the specific, peculiar way the towels are folded. These are not trivial details. They are the texture of existence. For many men, the prospect of leaving is not an adventure into freedom. It is a terrifying step into a void where nothing fits, where the air is too thin, and where the reflection in the mirror no longer has a backdrop to give it context. Consider the concept of the witness. In a life that moves so quickly, where we are often anonymous to the world at large, a spouse serves a vital, sacred function. She is the witness to his life. She remembers him when his hair was dark and thick. She remembers the failures that kept him awake at 25 and the triumphs that defined him at 40. She holds the archive of his existence. If he leaves, he loses the only person who has read every chapter of his story. To walk away is to step into a room full of strangers who only see him as he is now. A man without a prologue, a book starting in the middle. The comfort of being truly known, even if that knowing comes with criticism or friction, is a powerful sedative against the urge to flee. Let us drift deeper into this idea of history. Imagine two trees planted side by side. In the early years, they are separate saplings, distinct, with their own patches of soil. But as the decades roll on, their roots begin to travel. They reach out through the dark earth, seeking stability. Inevitably, they tangle. They knot together, wrapping around one another in a complex subterranean embrace. They share the same water, the same nutrients. To separate them now would be to sever the life source of both. This entanglement is what we call a shared narrative. It is the mortgage paid off month by month, the children raised from infants to adults, the vacations taken, the funerals attended. It is the collective memory of a life built by 4 hands. A man looks at his life and sees that every significant memory is braided with the presence of his wife. To unravel that braid is an exhausting, almost impossible task. It requires an energy that many men, in the quiet moments of reflection, realize they simply do not wish to expend. The inertia of a life built together is a force of nature, like a great river that has carved its path through stone. It takes a cataclysmic event to divert the river. Otherwise, it flows where it has always flowed, because that is the path of least resistance. And there is a profound peace in surrendering to the current. There is also the sanctuary of the routine. We often speak of routine as something boring, something to escape. But for the meditative mind, for the soul seeking rest, routine is a form of prayer. It is a liturgy of the everyday. The coffee brewing at 6 a.m., the Sunday drive, the quiet evenings in front of the television. These rituals create a safety net. They tell the nervous system that all is well, that the world is spinning as it should. A man may dream of excitement. He may fantasize about a different life. But when he closes his eyes at night, it is the safety of the routine that lulls him to sleep. The wife is the high priestess of this routine, the keeper of the rhythm. To leave her is to invite chaos, to shatter the glass dome of predictability that protects him from the cold, indifferent randomness of the universe. And what of the self? Who is he if not a husband? For 10, 20, 30 years, his identity has been constructed around this role. He is a provider, a protector, a partner. These are not just labels. They are the pillars of his self-esteem. They are the coordinates by which he navigates the world. If he severs the tie, he becomes unmoored. The fear of this identity loss is primal. It is a fear of disappearing. In the reflection of his wife's eyes, Even if she is looking at him with frustration or indifference, he exists. He is solid. He matters. As you listen to these words, imagine the feeling of an old, comfortable coat. It may be frayed at the cuffs. It may not be the most stylish garment in the closet, but when you put it on, it holds your warmth. It protects you from the wind. You know where the pockets are without looking. You know how the buttons feel under your fingertips. This is the marriage that endures. It is not always a blazing fire of romance. Sometimes it is simply the coat that keeps the cold out. And for a man who values peace, who values the preservation of his own history, that warmth is enough. It is more than enough. It is home. We must also acknowledge the softness of acceptance. Over time, in a long marriage, the need for pretense fades away. In the dating world, in the world of new romance, there is a constant performance. One must be charming, impressive, tireless. But at home, within the walls of a decades-long union, a man can be tired. He can be grumpy. He can be silent. His wife knows his flaws. She has catalogued them all. And yet, the coffee is still there in the morning. The laundry is still done. The life continues. There is a profound relaxation in being with someone who is no longer impressed by you, but who accepts you nonetheless. It is a relief to take off the mask and simply be. So, as we drift through this opening contemplation, visualize the anchors that hold a ship in the harbor. The ship may rock with the waves. It may pull against the chain when the wind blows, but the anchor is buried deep in the sand, heavy and immovable. It is not trapped, it is secured. And in a world that is constantly shifting, constantly demanding, constantly changing, being secured is a rare and precious gift. A man stays because, deep down, beneath the complaints and the daydreams, he knows that the harbor is safer than the open sea. He knows that here, in this imperfect, weathered, shared life, he belongs. Allow this realization to settle over you like a soft mist, the understanding that staying is an active choice of preservation, an honoring of the past, and a safeguarding of the future. It is a choice for continuity, and in continuity, there is calm. In the next part of our journey, we will look deeper into the emotional landscape of duty and the quiet, unspoken languages of love that bind two souls together. But for now, simply rest in the knowledge of the anchor, deep in the sand, holding fast, holding on, holding home. And as we move from the harbor, walking slowly up the path toward the house on the hill, the water fades into a rhythmic whisper behind us. We turn our attention now to the structure itself, the life that has been built stone by stone, conversation by conversation, over the span of years. If the harbor represents safety, the home represents identity. It is here, within the invisible walls of shared history, that we find the second great anchor. Consider the intricate, almost invisible, weaving of two lives. When a man looks at his life, really looks at it, in the quiet moments of the early morning or the late evening. He does not see a series of isolated events. He sees a tapestry. And in this tapestry, the threads of his own existence are so tightly wound with hers that to pull them apart would be to unravel the entire cloth. There is a comfort in this weaving that transcends mere habit. It is the comfort of being fully known. He stays because she is the keeper of his stories. She remembers the version of him that existed 10 years ago, 20 years ago, the young man with big dreams and empty pockets. She holds the memory of his struggles, his failures, and his quiet victories that the rest of the world never saw. In a world where we are constantly meeting new people, constantly having to explain who we are, constantly curating a version of ourselves for public consumption, there is a profound, bone-deep relief in coming home to a witness. She is the witness to his life, and he, in turn, is the witness to hers. To leave would be to walk into a room where no one knows the language of your past, where every story must be told from the beginning, where the shorthand of a glance or a sigh requires a paragraph of explanation. He stays because the labor of translation is too heavy, and the silence of understanding is too sweet. Let your mind wander through the rooms of this shared life. Visualize the way the sunlight hits the kitchen table, the same table where bills were paid, where laughter was shared, where tears were shed over news both good and bad. There is a patina on the furniture of their lives, a softness worn into the edges of their routine. This routine, often mistaken for monotony, is actually a rhythm. It is the heartbeat of the day. The way the coffee is brewed, the side of the bed that is his, the unspoken agreement of who locks the door at night. These are not chains. They are the tracks upon which the train of his life runs smoothly. To derail this, to disrupt the rhythm, would be to introduce a chaos that the soul, seeking rest, naturally turns away from. He stays because there is a profound stillness in the known. The known allows the nervous system to settle. It allows the guard to come down. In the presence of the familiar, the body does not need to brace for impact. It knows the terrain. It knows where the floorboards creak. It knows the temperature of the air. And deeper still, beneath the comfort of the familiar, lies the bedrock of duty. In our modern world, duty is often spoken of as a weight, a burden to be cast off in the pursuit of fleeting happiness. But in the quiet reflection of a long marriage, duty transforms. It becomes something noble, something architectural. It is not a weight that presses down, but a foundation that hosts up. A man often defines himself by what he protects and by what he sustains. There is a deep, primal satisfaction in looking at the life he has provided, the stability he maintains. He stays because he is the architect of this world. To leave would be to abandon his post, to leave the structure he built to weather the elements alone. There is an honor in staying, a quiet dignity in the persistence of presence. It is the feeling of standing watch. It is the knowledge that because he is here, the roof holds, the walls stand, and the fire in the hearth continues to burn. This sense of responsibility is not a trap. It is a source of meaning. When the initial fires of romance settle into the glowing embers of partnership, what remains is the structure of a shared destiny. He stays because his identity is no longer just I. Over the years, through the slow alchemy of time, I has become we. Imagine two trees planted close together. In the beginning, they are separate saplings, but as the decades pass, their roots travel deep into the same soil. They tangle and twist around one another, drinking from the same water, anchoring into the same earth. Above ground, their branches interlace until it is impossible to tell where one canopy ends and the other begins. If you were to try to separate them now, you would not just be moving a tree. You would be tearing at the very source of their life. You would damage the root system so severely that neither might survive the shock. A man feels this entanglement in his chest. He feels it in the way his finances, his friendships, his family, and his future are inextricably linked with hers. It is not just about logistics, though those are the surface roots. It is about the taproot, the deep connection that anchors his sense of self. To leave would be to amputate a part of his own history, to sever the limb that connects him to the earth. And so, he chooses the soil he knows. He chooses the roots that have already grown deep. There is also the gentle power of acceptance. In a long marriage, the illusions have faded. He sees her flaws just as she sees his. There is no longer the need to pretend to be perfect. And in that space of imperfection, there is a rare freedom. He stays because he can be himself here, not the idealized version, but the real, tired, hopeful, flawed human being. He knows that out there, in the open sea we spoke of earlier, there might be new horizons. There might be brighter colors or different songs. But there is also the exhausting requirement to impress, to court, to win. Here, in the harbor of the marriage, the winning is done. The prize is not a trophy to be held, but a hand to hold. Breathe into that thought, the relief of the race being over, the understanding that you have already crossed the finish line, and now you are simply walking cool down laps together. He stays because the shared silence is comfortable. He stays because the laughter requires no context. He stays because the scars they bear were earned in the same battles. As we drift deeper into this understanding, visualize the layers of this bond like the rings of an ancient tree. The outer bark is the present day, the routine, the logistics. But as you go deeper, you find the rings of years past, the hard winters, the abundant springs, the years of growth, and the years of drought. Every ring is a testament to survival. Every ring is a proof of resilience. He cannot leave because he is part of the tree. He is the wood and the grain. To leave the marriage would be to leave himself behind. And as the evening settles over this house on the hill, as the lights flicker on in the windows, casting a warm, golden glow against the twilight blue of the world outside, we see that this staying is not passive. It is an active embrace of the life that has been created. It is a choice made every morning over coffee and every night as the lights go out. It is the choice to nurture what has been planted rather than searching for new seeds. It is the wisdom of the farmer who knows that the harvest comes only to those who tend the same field, season after season, through sun and through storm. Let this feeling of stability wrap around you like a heavy wool blanket. The feeling of roots going down, deep, deep into the cool, dark earth. The feeling of a structure that has stood the test of time. There is no need to move. There is no need to run. Here, in the center of the life that has been built, there is enough. There is history, there is meaning, and there is the profound, quiet, enduring strength of the bond that holds fast. Rest here for a moment, in the sanctuary of the woven life, before we turn our eyes toward the horizon of the future and the final understanding of why the heart chooses to remain. And so, as we gaze toward that horizon, the light changes. It softens. The stark brightness of noon, with its demands and its clarity, gives way to the golden, amber hues of the late afternoon. This is the time of day when shadows lengthen, not to obscure, but to comfort, to wrap the sharp edges of the world in velvet. When we ask why the heart remains, we must look at this horizon not as a finish line, but as a continuation. The future, for the man who stays, is not a question mark. It is a known road. It is a path paved with the stones of shared memory. To leave would be to step off the map, to wander into a wilderness where no tree knows his name, where no echo returns his voice with a familiar timbre. Consider the sheer weight of a shared history. It is a library of moments, vast and deep. There are volumes of inside jokes that require no explanation, only a glance, a slight lifting of an eyebrow to summon a decade of laughter. There are chapters of sorrow that were endured only because there were two sets of shoulders to bear the weight. To walk away is to close the door on this library, to leave the books unread, gathering dust in the silence. And so, he stays. He stays because he is the co-author of this story, and the story is not yet done. There is a profound peace in being fully known. In the early days, love is a performance. We present our best selves, shining and polished. But in the marriage that has weathered the seasons, the performance has ended. The curtain has come down, and what remains is the truth. He stays because here, in this house, in this bond, he does not need to hide his fatigue. He does not need to mask his fears. He is accepted, flaws and all. Imagine the comfort of an old leather chair. It has taken the shape of the one who sits in it. It does not ask him to be different. It yields. It supports. This is the nature of the long love. It has contoured itself to the unique shape of his soul. To leave would be to sit on a hard wooden bench, stiff and unyielding, forcing the body to hold itself up. But here, he can sink back. He can exhale. The friction of the world outside dissolves, and he is held by the familiarity of the life he has built. As the years accumulate, the I and the you begin to blur, quietly, imperceptibly, until there is only the we. This is not a loss of self, but an expansion of it. Like two rivers that have converged, the waters have mixed so thoroughly that they can no longer be separated. To try to separate them now would be to tear at the very fabric of existence. The memories are braided together, the habits are synchronized, the rhythm of breathing, the way coffee is made, the side of the bed that is claimed. These are not just routines, they are the rituals of a shared religion. He stays because his identity is no longer a solitary thing. He is a husband, a father, a partner, a witness. He is the keeper of her stories, just as she is the keeper of his. Who else remembers the way he looked at 25? Who else knows the specific cadence of his father's voice, now long gone? Only she knows. She is the repository of his past. To leave her would be to lose a vital part of himself, to lose the only living witness to his own becoming. There is a safety in this witnessing. It is a tether to reality. As we age, as the world changes with dizzying speed, this connection serves as an anchor. It holds fast against the tide. It says, "You are real. You matter. You are here." In a world that often treats people as disposable, as interchangeable, the marriage stands as a testament to permanence. It is a defiance of the temporary. It is a declaration that some things are meant to last. And let us not forget the silence, the beautiful, heavy, companionable silence. In a new romance, silence is terrifying. It is a void that must be filled with chatter, with proof of interest. But here, in the deepening twilight of a long marriage, silence is a luxury. It is a warm bath. It is the ability to be in the same room, reading separate books, thinking separate thoughts, yet entirely together, connected by an invisible thread of presence. He stays for this silence, for the freedom to simply be, without the need to entertain or impress. Listen closely, and you can hear the sound of this stability. It is the ticking of the clock in the hallway, steady and rhythmic, like a heartbeat. It is the settling of the house cooling in the evening air, the creak of floorboards that are known by heart. It is the hum of the refrigerator, the distant sound of a car passing on the street, heading somewhere else, while he remains here, safe, grounded. There is a concept in the art of fixing broken pottery called Kintsugi. The cracks are not hidden, but filled with gold. The break becomes part of the beauty. The history is honored, not erased. A marriage, over many years, develops these golden cracks. Arguments resolved, hardships overcome, forgiveness granted. These scars are not signs of weakness. They are the veins of gold that make the vessel precious. He stays because he knows the value of the gold. He knows that a perfect, unblemished vessel has no story. It has no strength. He prefers the one that has been tested in the fire and has held together. As we drift deeper into this understanding, allow your body to feel the weight of this truth. It is a good weight, like a heavy quilt on a winter night. It presses down, grounding you, shielding you from the draft. The reasons for leaving, the desire for novelty, for the spark of the new. They are like sparks from a bonfire. They are bright, they dance, they captivate the eye for a moment, but sparks fade. They turn to ash in the cold air. The man who stays chooses the embers, the deep, glowing, red heat at the center of the fire, the heat that lasts through the night, the heat that warms the bone. He stays because he knows that the grass is not greener on the other side. He knows that the grass is greenest where you water it. And he has watered this field for a lifetime. He has watched the saplings become oaks. He has watched the garden bloom, fade, and bloom again. He understands the cycle. He is not afraid of the winter because he knows the spring will follow as long as the roots are deep. So, let the mind settle on this image. A house with lights glowing in the windows, seen from the outside on a dark evening. Inside, there is warmth. There is a table set for two. There is a history that hangs on the walls in frames. There is a future that sits quietly in the air, waiting to unfold, day by ordinary day. There is no need to run. There is no need to search. The treasure has already been found. It is not a chest of gold, but a hand to hold in the dark. A voice that knows your name, a place where the key turns in the lock and the door opens, and you know, with every fiber of your being, that you are home. Breathe in that sense of home. Breathe in the permanence. Let the anxiety of what if dissolve into the certainty of what is. The search is over. The journey has led here, to this chair, to this room, to this person, to this moment of quiet acceptance. Sleep now, in the knowledge that steadfastness is a virtue, that loyalty is a balm, and that staying, simply staying, is the bravest and most beautiful thing the heart can do. Drift into the peace of the enduring. Rest within the walls of the life you have made. All is well. All is still.